Welcome back, guys. It's craft time. In today's video, we're going to be putting together some cute wall art and home decor that I think is perfect for the fall and winter months. I mean, all year round, but we're focusing on the words family and gather, and I really think that encompasses this time of year. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, I had picked up two of the Dollar Tree. I don't know what they're made of, but they're the big like 3D words that they have there of family and gather. Now, I did already use one of these in a former project, but it was just a miss for me. I didn't love that project. I kind of just threw it together. So I ripped it back off and I'm going to repurpose that wording, and then I originally was just going to use that one, and I remembered I had the second piece and I think it was gonna go perfectly together to make a two-part wall piece. Now, I originally was going to use this frame that I had thrifted and some balsa wood, and I was just going to cut it down and make like a shiplap backing and then put the wording over top. And then I remembered I have these two frames. Now, these are actually from a ceiling light that we have. So we have two of these, and they're just circle lights that sit pretty flat on the ceiling, and they come with alternate rings around them so that you can have white, silver, or whatever color that you want. And I kept them because I had a feeling that I could probably put them to use at some point. So I'm going to use those for this project. I'm going to use two of my wood rounds that I have. I'm going to use the wording that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to be using this non-stick contact paper that I was gifted from somebody, because I think it's all gonna kind of work together and look really good. Now, you can pick up contact paper from the Dollar Tree as well. They have several different options there. I'm going to use what I have. You guys know at this point I'm a very, very big stickler for use what you have. Make something work with what you have. It's one, it's cheaper, and two, it's a challenge to be able to look at your craft room or what you have lying around and say, what can I do with this? So I'm going to walk you through my little project here and show you what I came up with. All right, now for the frame, I want the wood round to fit into the back of it and seal so that it's nice and tight so it won't pop out and move. But the wooden round that I have is just a little bit too big. So I'm going to start by shaving that down a little. I'm just going to use a box cutter and score the wood where I want it to come off. And then I'm going to use my wire cutters, and I'm just going to clamp them down, and it's just going to kind of pop that wood apart. And then use a little bit of sandpaper to get rid of those rough edges. I'm just going to keep doing this until it fits. It is still a bit of a struggle to get the frame on there, but I want to make sure it's nice and tight. That way it's not loose in there and I don't have to try to secure it at all. It'll just sit in there by itself. After I got the first one done, I just laid it on top of the second one, traced it, and then did the same thing. I took my box cutter and I just kind of scored it really deep, and then took my wire cutters and chipped away at that wood, sanded it down, and now I have the two that will fit into this frame. Again, I said at the beginning I was going to use a thrifted frame, so obviously you're probably not going to have something like this just lying around, but you can thrift frames for very cheap, paint them up, and then put something in the background. I know that they sell little like wood slats at Dollar Tree now. You can pick up a couple of those and inlay those there. The balsa wood is really cheap and easy to cut. You can literally cut it with scissors. So there's several different ways that you can do this. Like I said, I happen to have these round frames, and that's why I'm going this route. So now I'm taking the contact paper that I was gifted, and it did have a little bit of a stain. It's older on the front, so I cut it off. It had never been used. It was a brand new roll, but I guess just sitting over time, it got a little bit discolored. So I unwrapped it, cut that part off and threw it away, and then I just traced around my wood and got the size that I needed for the contact paper for both circles. Now, I had just bought this bottle of E6000 because I love using it and I use it all the time and wanted to just get a big bottle, but the cap won't come off, so that's really annoying. So I'm just going to slice the bottom and use it the best I can and put it in a baggie, and hopefully it doesn't glue shut on me so that I can get some type of use out of it. But I'm going to be using that to secure my contact paper to my wood round. You could also hot glue it if you wanted to. I wanted to just use the E6000 because I wanted to. So I just put a bunch on it up to the edge and all in the middle. I laid my contact paper down on it and I used my hand to smooth it out the best that I could and kind of like move that glue underneath to flatten it out and make sure there were no bumps. I let that dry, and then I took my scissors and I cut as close as I could to the wood round to get rid of any excess that was left there. I did that with both pieces, and then I just carefully popped them both in onto the frame, and that part is done. Now I'm going to be using a mixture of green for my lettering. I want it to match the contact paper that's there. These like muted greens and gold are really, really popular right now, as they should be. It's gorgeous together. So I want to use the greens that kind of match the background, but also kind of tie it all together. So I'm using Moss by Waverly, and then just like the Christmas green in a little bit of water. So the Moss is a chalk paint, the Christmas green is an acrylic paint, and then a little bit of water. I'm not worried about the two different types of paint together. I'm just using it to tint it. It's not going to change anything, and it's not going to mess anything up, so don't worry about that. So all I did was add my chalk paint, then add my acrylic paint, and I just kept mixing it up until I felt like the color was good enough. I just had a piece of scrap contact paper there so I could kind of match them up, make sure it looked good. I added a little bit of water just to make it not so thick, that way it would spread nice and evenly, and then I went ahead and painted my wording. Now I wanted to do the face of the wording and the all of the sides because you will be able to see all of them. I did not worry about the back at this point. So I did 2 layers on the top and then just 1 layer on the sides with spot checking to make sure that everything was covered nice and good. And then while that was drying, I have this really awesome gold leafing pen from Krylon. It is amazing, and I wanted to add some golding to the frame. That way it would also match the letters and kind of all tie together. Now on this silver frame, or like dark gunmetal kind of looking frame that I have, it has like a natural groove around the inner part of the circle. So all I did was take my marker, put it right on that, and just follow it all the way around. And I did that on both, and I think it looks really good. And then once my wording was dry, I took that in my marker and I did it, so the marker point, I put it halfway on to where the crease of the letters, or the corner of the letters, it just kind of glided right along there. I've done this with this marker many times, so I kind of have a natural groove, so I can go pretty quick with it now because the tip pretty much fits on the corners because I've used it like this so many times. So I just did that, and I traced the entire letter and did all of the inlays and made sure it was nice and even and connected everywhere and looked nice and smooth. And then I was ready to connect the wording to the frame. To do this, I use E6000 and hot glue. I want to use the E6000 to make sure it's nice and secure completely because it is a really smooth surface and I don't want the hot glue to just peel away. And then I'm also using the hot glue, that way it sets instantly and I don't have to worry about it shifting or moving around on me. So I just went ahead and placed it on there how I want it to be. I took a pencil and traced the back, that way I kind of have an idea where my glue needs to go on which part of the letter. And then added both glues, flipped it back over, put it back on to the best of my ability. Kind of had to look at the back too to make sure it was getting it in the right spot. Let that dry and the front is done. I think it's super cute, but I need to make sure that it can be hung up on a wall. So I flipped it over. I just took a piece of rope that I have here and I hot glued that onto the back. So I just cut 2 strings the same size and then put a puddle of hot glue, pushed it in, and then overlaid the hot glue again to make sure it was completely encased on both sides. And then while I was looking at it, decided that I was going to go ahead and paint the back of the first and last letter that you could see from the opposite side, just so it looked a little more complete. I like to make the backs of my items look pretty too. I thought about painting the back of the wood, but I think it looks okay natural and kind of ties together with the rope. So I'm pretty happy with this project for it kind of being thrown together, and just an idea that I had and using the stuff that I had on hand. I would love to hear what you guys think about it, or what colors that you would choose. You could also use scrapbook paper as the background, or you can do simple, just paint it solid. I love the way it's kind of 3D, you know, the back's kind of inset and then it's popped off, and then the wording's the big thick 3D wording. I think it's super, super cute. I think it's a super awesome little piece of wall art. Like I said, I like that there's two pieces that can go, so you can kind of offset them. Yeah. So you guys let me know what you guys think about this project. Let me know if you plan to give it a try, and like what spin you're going to put on it for yourself. And I will go ahead and take you guys in for a closer look. I will see you next time.